Are we recording already?
Yeah, we're recording, but I can edit it and stuff. So
Oh, fantabulous. I don't know. Let's start with the fact that you're leaving in how many days now?
tomorrow,
Wait, what? You're
tomorrow
leaving
morning,
tomorrow?
tomorrow morning.
So what's the process for you tonight?
I gotta finish up some packing. I gotta put
Right?
some more stuff in storage. I gotta eat some food that I wouldn't be getting in Thailand to make sure I get my last dibs on that. And other than that, just kind of
What, like Oreos? There's Oreos in Thailand.
I know, but like more like steak and beef because I know they don't have like the best beef over there. So I figure I'll get
Right?
some ribs or something tonight and munch out on that. But other than
Right?
that, I bought a lot of books on my Kindle, getting ready for the flight, and yeah, ready to
What are
go.
you gonna read?
I got this.
What are you
I got a
reading before
couple
you get out
books.
there?
I got one is called Influence. It's about like persuasion and stuff and being able to interact with people. Another one is like the
Right?
champion's mind, and it's kind of based on just athletes all over the sports spectrum and what
Right?
makes champions' minds different than others. And a couple other like social media books and like web entrepreneurship books that are kind of over my head, but I figure I'll jump in that and see how it goes.
Yeah, if you can take like one or two nuggets of knowledge from them, it's better
Yeah,
than nothing, right?
that's the game plan.
So what is the game plan while you're out there? So it's like, okay, you made this decision. We'll start at the decision to go, and then like everything that's led up to you actually leaving tomorrow.
Well, the decision was kind of impromptu because me and my girlfriend were initially to stay down in the city while she got her bachelor's degree, but
Uh huh.
she signed up a day too late for uh for classes or whatever, and so at that exact time I was getting in contact with some gyms in Thailand about future sponsorships, and
Right.
they said they would be able to sponsor me in terms of accommodation and training and stuff. And so once she missed the deadline for classes, I was like, well, why don't we move to Thailand? And she was like, okay. And I was like, wait, really? You're like, you want to do that? And she was like, yeah. And
Yeah.
she caught me really off guard. I was like, okay, so we're gonna move to Thailand then. She's like, yeah, okay. And so we bought our tickets not too long afterwards, and I was in contact with a couple gyms. The first gym I'm training at is Nita Muay Thai. It's a new gym, but I know a bunch of the fighters there and the trainers there, and the person Anita, I made contact with the first couple times I trained there, and they're a bunch of good people, so I'm looking forward to it. But
What do you think you're going to get out of training specifically there? What are they known for?
uh, just just good quality trainers who care for their fighters, and the atmosphere of the training isn't. I'm not one of the type of fighters that loves an intense training environment 24/7, and they can have fun and be laid back and everything, and
Right.
I need that, otherwise I get burnt out way too quickly.
Yeah, I feel like not only burnt out, but part of me liking Muay Thai or just martial arts in general is the nerd aspect of it. And sometimes it's not so much even about like the hard training for me as it is of my brain seeing something and the light bulb going on. I'm like, oh, that's why you do it like
Uh-huh.
that. And the fact that within years and years and years of training, you could still have that feeling. I think that's a huge part of the gym. Otherwise, that you're just there for fitness
Yeah.
you know and like we all know that we could get fit, but to learn an actual art form, I mean, that's just as cool to me as the training aspect of it.
Yeah, and in Thailand, a lot of the trainers will just be like, more power, and they won't
Yeah.
focus at all on technique. And like, I know I can kick and punch pretty hard, and I can get in shape doing that, but I'm not there just to get in shape. I'm there to kind of learn different aspects of the training. And so the main thing I'm looking to get out of it is just the work that I'm going to be able to get with sparring partners from Australia and Europe and Thai fighters too, and just be able to get my muscle memory down in terms of light technique sparring and stuff.
Well, this is something I really wanted to talk to you about because we both spoke to Eric Haycraft this week,
Hmm.
right? So, for those of you guys who know Eric Haycraft, he owns Real Fighters Gym in Louisville, Kentucky, and he's also a member of the group that searches for talent for Glory Kickboxing. And the guy's like, I mean, he's been everywhere, predominantly training out of Holland, and and he's seen the evolution of Muay Thai and or just kind of kickboxing for the last couple of years. So now we're kind of the second generation of this now. We're like the younger generation. So we're cool. We're connected to those guys that like were involved with the inception of this stuff. And now we're watching it almost blow up a little bit with Glory and as things change. So here you are, right, about to go international and get some international sparring in. Because you didn't just say, oh, I'm going to Thailand to train with the Thais. You just said that you're going to Thailand and you're going to train with some of the Australian guys that are there and then this and then that. So you're going to get this like really awesome connection to the Muay Thai community and what it is globally, right? What do you feel about, how do you feel about that? How do you think things are different around the world for Muay Thai?
I just think it's important to, I mean, people are against gym hopping and stuff, and I actually just talked to Jaffer, who was a guest on my podcast too, about how he goes from gym to gym. But we do it in the most respectful way possible, because I feel like if you just limit yourself to training at one gym your entire life and don't look to either internationally or across the country to pick other people's brains about the sport, it really limits your training and your mindset when it comes to fighting. So being able to train with guys from Australia, guys from France, guys from Thailand, I can kind of get an idea of what type of training works for them and what type of training doesn't work. So this way I can kind of mold into my own whatever I feel like works best for me, because each fighter is different. And so if you're able to take bits and pieces of everyone, I feel like you're able to really get the most out of your training that way.
Yeah, bits and pieces from everyone, and then like practical application. So you know, like, all right, this works for somebody who's 6 foot tall.
Yeah.
This is this, and that was cool that I learned it from you, but it's not working for me. I can't time this one effectively with my limbs or whatever it is. But you kind of, that's what the sparring comes from. It's like, let me use this in practical application for my body, you know, and then you're able to do that.
Yeah, and speaking of Glory too, like Glory's international. You know, they have fighters from all over the world on their cards, and one of my goals is to eventually fight for Glory. And so I figure the best way to be prepared for that is by going to Thailand and getting as much ring experience as I can, because one of Haycraft's like #1 things when he's looking for fighters is experience. And so I feel like the more experience I can get by fighting like once a month, the better. And I'll also get an idea of other styles of fighting. So the more styles,
so you know what you're up against.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what you're up against. And also too, I think that it's really cool that Glory is involved with showcasing different people from around the world, you know, in sort of like a more festive kind of way, by going to these other countries and like exploring what these guys have to offer, making the shows more exciting. I think that's really cool. I just felt like he was saying America is a little
behind.
Yeah, you know? And it's so cool to hear that in a way, because we're like usually the first with everything, or we try to be the first with everything, and that's not the case here, you know?
It gives us that much more fuel to the fire, knowing that we have that much more space to get to the top. But then we have guys like Wayne Barrett and Joe Schilling, Kevin Ross, like all these top American fighters representing really well on a fight cards. It gives us a little bit more inspiration to know that, hey, we're not too far behind. We might be a little behind, but we're right there in the running. So knowing that, it kind of gives me a little bit more of a push to know that my time in Thailand is going to be really beneficial to hopefully be able to fight for Glory one day.
Yeah. So did you ever mention this before, that Glory was a goal for you, or did you just, is the first time you're dropping the bomb on us?
Well, it's just fighting the best in the world has always been a goal for of mine. And Lion Fights, I would love to fight for Lion Fights as well. But I know they locked down their fighters to a contract, an exclusive contract. And with Glory, I feel like I would have more ability to make a living. Whereas with Lion Fights, if I only fight 3 or 4 times a year, it's only 3 or 4 paychecks. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And that's the reality of this, is that the martial arts business in general is not a huge money maker yet. I think it's happening, right? Because now guys are actually looking at a Premier League like Glory and saying, well, I could really be a professional fighter, you know, if I groom myself the right way and come along the ranks the right way. that's a huge change for our sport to say that, oh, there's a possibility that with one Premier League I can actually make money and be a real professional fighter, you know?
And another thing about Glory too is I love Muay Thai and I love
Yeah.
like the whole style of Muay Thai, but to be honest, I'm kind of like molded into a kickboxer in the way that I fight. And
Why do you think that is?
well, I don't know because I came from a boxing background, so I tend to use a lot of my hands. So I know in Thailand they don't score punches for anything, so
Right.
I'm gonna have the whole dilemma of either knocking the guy out or losing on points, or having to diversify my attacks and use more kicks, elbows, and knees, which is my plan.
That's the best evolution for you too,
Yeah,
as a fighter.
yeah,
Because
because
you already know your hands are valuable, and now it's a matter of like mixing up your hands and your legs
yeah,
together, you know?
and I'm prepared. This sounds very pessimistic of me, but I'm prepared to lose in Thailand because I know the scoring is completely different than the scoring
Right,
here, and
right.
I am a heavy-handed guy who is going to be using my hands regardless. But the more experience I'm able to get and ability to diversify my strikes, I think one of the most important things for me is I always start off the fight with like kicking and kneeing and being diverse, and then I get cracked like boom, and then I just go into my instinct mode where I just have to like I just stomp my feet and just start throwing my hands as hard as I
Yeah.
can, and being aware and not letting the adrenaline take over is one of the biggest issues I've had in my career so far.
Well, do you think now you've had what, 18 fights or about?
I've had 22 altogether.
Okay,
Yeah.
22. So when I'm commentating, I notice something by like the number of fights. And of course, this is a generalization because there's exceptions to every single rule. But this is just something that I noticed that's like the way it is for the general public. So between fights 1 through 5, it's really about just going out there and proving that you can do it, that you can adjust to doing it in front of a crowd, that you can listen to your corner and actually hear them and do what they say instead of turning and going, what? Crack. You know what I mean? So responding on impact.
Yeah.
So 1 through 5 is this sort of like growing phase period for that. Then around fight 6 and 7, you start looking for stuff. You're a little bit calmer in the first round. You kind of know a little bit more about even the rules and how you can use the rules to your advantage. That's 6 to 10. 10, you're a fighter at this point. Like you're probably going to think about maybe going pro or what you want to start doing with yourself to kind of groom yourself for the next 10 or so fights, right? And this is the US because everywhere else they've got like 70 fights and you're 11, you know?
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
but in the US generally it looks like people are starting 18, 19, 20, you know? If it's good, or like early 20s and then going, do I want to do this? What am I doing?
Yeah.
And being confused, like, can I make fucking money? Like, is it, you know? So anyway, so then that happens. And then around 10 to 20, people actually are fighting with skills and variety and almost identifying themselves as a fighter and what they're good at. And they have like techniques that become their own and they're way more strategic. And then sky's the limit because who knows what's going to happen? You're going to get fatigued. You don't want to do it. You get married. You have a bunch of kids. You don't know, right? But that's what I see from as you know, as far as a commentator. So now you're at 22 fights, right? So this means you're at the phase. Where am I going with my career?
Hmm.
What do I want to do? How do I want to season myself? How do I want to be more complete? My eyes are open. There's a vast possibility I'm going to Thailand. Is that accurate for you and where your mind has gone as you've been a fighter?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've always loved Thailand just for the fact that I get to travel and like see
Yeah.
different parts of the world and stuff. But with my last fight, Chris Williams was he was like a superhero. I remember walking into the ring and like looking across the ring and be like, "Holy shit, this guy is huge." And usually I can get a feel for my opponent, and I like to engage right away. And
Uh-huh.
they'll kick me or hit me, and I'll be like, "All right, that's not too bad." He kicked me, and I was like, "Holy fuck, this is gonna be a long fight." And one of
Yeah.
his first kicks actually broke my arm, and that kind of made me think twice about my fighting style because I usually take a few hits and just keep moving forward to to get one. And it kind of made me think about attacking with more angles, working on my defense a little bit more.
So getting
So
hit less.
yeah, because I'm good at getting hit. I can take a pretty good hit, which I
Yeah.
guess is a good thing to know in case I ever have to do that. But when I'm fighting guys that are like 20 pounds heavier than me, it's kind of not the smartest thing to do. And
Right.
I'm not always going to be the strongest fighter. So I'm trying to wrap my mind around being a more technical fighter, which is the main purpose of this trip, is just to be a smarter fighter and fight with more intelligence. Did I lose you? Phoenix.
Because you can't bully everybody. Yeah, I'm here. I'm
All
here.
right, cool. It got all
Yeah.
chumpy and everything.
No, and I agree with you because you can't always bully somebody into a fight and just like take their hits for the longevity of your career. You don't even want to do such a thing, you know?
Yeah. And it's weird because, like, all my other fight, I haven't been knocked down in a fight yet, so that's always been, like, a proud thing. I take a lot of pride in. But breaking my arm kind of made me realize that I'm human. Even it sounds ridiculous, but, like, when I go into a fight, I
Right.
kind of shut off all my emotion and I act like I'm a machine, so this way I don't feel any pain. So, like, when I broke my
Yeah.
arm, it
Yeah.
hurt a lot, don't get me wrong, but, like, I wasn't going to stop fighting because of the pain. And adrenaline really does a lot in terms of masking the pain, too. After the fight, it was horrible. But, like, during the fight,
Yeah.
I was able to cope with it. And that's another thing. Knowing I'm able to continue fighting through a broken arm kind of gives me a little bit more confidence. But also, going into a fight, knowing that my arm was broken previously, it's kind of a new mental barrier that I'm
Yeah.
going to have
Well,
to
I know.
overcome.
I mean, to put it simply, it's just because you can take a hit doesn't mean that you should.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like just because you can take it doesn't mean that you necessarily should take it if there's another way.
Hmm.
You know, it's like the path of the least resistant.
Yeah.
You know, you don't always have to like there's other ways, you know? There's just
It,
definitely
it's
other
so
ways.
crazy how much there's still left to learn, and even guys with hundreds and hundreds of fights, they're still learning every time. And I'm only at 20 some odd fights. I can't imagine
Right.
the wealth of knowledge that I'm going to be gaining through training in Thailand and hopefully coming back and fighting for a top promotion and just continue to learning. So
Yeah.
I'm stoked. I can't wait.
So like if you were gonna apply for Glory, how many more fights would you say you would want under your belt and like when would you know that you were ready to send them a submission tape or whatever?
Well, I feel like I would do well right now, to be honest,
Hmm.
and that might be a false sense of confidence, but I feel like my style kind of fits the Glory, and they like entertaining.
Yeah, you're out to really fight. You're not gonna run. You're
Yeah,
out to
I don't
just go for
I don't counter
it.
too much. I just kind of move forward, and I'm willing to exchange in the pocket, and they like that kind of fighter. But
Hmm.
my goals in Thailand, I want to be able to fight at the main stadiums at Lumpini and Rajadamnern, and
Hmm.
ideally fight and win at those stadiums, and to have that as on top of my credentials. But my goal is to have 10 fights in Thailand. I don't even know how long I'm going to be in Thailand. It's all open ended. But I feel like once I know, I'm not sure exactly when I know, but when it happens and when I get to that point, I know that I will be like, all right, it's time to make moves.
Yeah, and you just have to adjust from the Thai style to like their style, or
Yeah, yeah. And
whatever.
I plan on also still implementing some of my. I mean, I want to fight the Thai style of fighting, but I don't want to get away too much
Yeah.
from my style either. So I need to make sure that I still stay true to myself, even though I'm fighting in Thailand.
Are you a fan of the clinch personally?
Personally, not really. I mean, I appreciate it, and I know how devastating it could be. And knees to the body are like the worst things I've ever taken. I'd rather get kicked in the head, to be honest, because I don't remember that. But when it knees to the body, I remember that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
yeah, I've learned to appreciate the clinch. And like earlier on in my career, when guys clinched me, all I was trying to do was get out of the clinch. Now I'm more at ease in it. I'm like, all right, I'm in the clinch. I might as well score some points and try to outwork my guy, as opposed to
Right.
just like, oh, I need to get out of it so I can punch him in the face again. So clinch is good, and
Yeah.
that's another thing I'm gonna have to learn a lot in Thailand too, because those guys.
I have to tell you though, and I know you don't really like jiu-jitsu and you don't really like rolling on the ground, but I started a little Brazilian jiu-jitsu more recently. I mean, I'm a little different than you guys because everybody's very hardcore Muay Thai. Like if you're involved with Muay Thai, people are like Muay Thai all day, every day.
Hmm.
And I think that's great. But I'm like all martial arts all day, every day, you know? Like I love everything. So I'm like, let me just, I got to work in the MMA business. I need to know more jujitsu. I know the basic things. Like if I watch something, I know what he's going for. Yeah, he's going for
Hmm.
Kimura. He's going for Key Lock. He's going for whatever. But I want to roll. So I've been rolling at Henzo's a couple days a week with a few friends who just have nothing to do and they want to show me and torture me. And I have to tell you that I love the clinch now in Muay Thai. I have much more appreciation for the clinch doing jujitsu because, oh my God, it's so much better not to lay down. One,
Yeah.
but two, your tactile senses, the fact that you know that you can just manhandle somebody without so much force. There's something that's just kind of awesome about it. So I always like when people are like, oh, well, I do Muay Thai and I'm not crazy about the clinch. I'm like, that's like saying you do MMA, but you don't like jujitsu. You know what I
Exactly.
mean?
Yeah.
It's like you have to, not that it's, especially when you come from boxing, you just really love to stand there and bang. But when it's just like, oh, I can kind of manhandle you, that's very cool feeling too,
Hmm.
you
Yeah.
know? So I've learned to appreciate that feeling also.
Yeah, me too. Like I did jujitsu too, and it's
Mhm.
I was actually just talking to some of my training buddies who I first started training with, and
Yeah.
how we thought we were all hard and badass walking to the gym. I could bench 300 pounds, like I'm gonna kick everyone's ass. I go in there, this little like 120-pound girl just choking me out every 5 seconds. I'm like, what the hell is going on here? And then after that, I was like, all right, I guess there's a little bit more to the whole fighting thing than just being big and muscular. So
Right.
now
Right.
that I can't bench as much, but I have a little bit more technique, it's crazy how you have to learn how to balance things out and
Yeah.
not just go. A lot of people still go just to aesthetically look good, even though they're fighters. When that is like the last thing you should be worrying about. You should be
Uh-huh.
worrying about all just functional movements and technique.
Well, since you started the Muay Thai guy and since you started just basically training in general, you're one of my favorite people because you always sponging up like a lot of knowledge. And then once you learn something, you find it fascinating. You put it up on the site, you put it up on the page, and you've always got stuff that's like, don't ignore these facts.
Hmm.
Don't, take a look at that. This is why you feel this way. And one of the things I admire about you the most is you actually take time to discuss recovery and athletic fitness and the fact that recovery is part of the workout.
That is
People like
absolutely.
think it's workout and then recover. It's like no, 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 no. Recovery is in working out. It's not two different things. You
Hmm.
have to do them both equally, and you have to pay attention to both of them. People really separated that like that. Oh, I'm going to train really hard for like 6 months and then maybe I'll get a massage. It's like, are you out of your mind?
That's crazy.
You
That's
got
crazy
to work
talk.
in the stretching, the massage, the foam rolling, the ice baths. Like you have to work that all in throughout the week also.
Yeah, your body's a machine, and you have to just keep fine tuning it and oiling it up and making sure that it's running fine. Because all the athletes that I've talked to, recovery is an essential part to their
Right.
routine, and like especially in Thailand, if you train twice a day, six times a week, you need some time to recover.
Well, you're
And
lucky because you'll be getting those $10 Thai massages.
exactly,
So if I'm jealous of anything, Sean, it's that.
I
I'm very
actually set a budget aside just so I can get a certain amount of massages a month. So I made sure that I'm able to afford all that.
do me a favor, definitely make sure that you mention that in your posts and stuff like that because I think it's really important for people to continually know that that's a big part of the training and see how it actually makes a difference in your body too. You think you'll be like faster, stronger, or whatever because of that?
I'm sure it'll help loosen me up and just allow me to be more intense during my
Uh
training
huh.
sessions as opposed to not getting a massage. I'll feel a little bit more tight and a little bit more, I don't know, just
Yeah.
stressed out and anxious. Whereas every time I get a massage afterwards, I mean during the massage, those little Thai girls, they'll like dig their elbows into your calf and shit, and it hurts. It really really hurts. And you're like, why am I doing this? And then afterwards, you're like, oh wow, that's why I'm doing it because you feel like
Yeah.
you can like float on
You
in
feel
space.
lighter and like your energy is throughout. Because I feel now that when I'm training, I'm like an old car. I have like a 10-minute warm up. I'm like, yeah, you got you 20-year-olds, you do what you want to do. I'm here doing bridges on the foam roller. Like I'm, and
I
they're
take
just
like
like,
a
what?
I take like a half hour to warm up now. Like
Hmm.
I make sure I get my heart rate up. I do foam roller. I do shadow boxing, because I
Yeah.
just heard too many sad stories about guys getting injured just because they haven't warmed up properly and their knee would pop, or and like just
Yeah.
simple things that will add up in the long run. Especially if you want to be in the sport for a while, you really need to take care of your body.
Right, and we're training in these type of climates, like a New York City climate. I mean, you guys watching from other places, it's 12 degrees today. It's 12. And Sean is going where tomorrow?
90-degree weather.
No, that's great, man. That's
Yeah.
really great. So, what's your first stop?
My first stop uh, is going to be in Phuket, down in Patong. I stayed there originally, my first trip, and it's kind of a touristy spot, but my girlfriend hasn't been outside the country yet, so I figured it's a good place to start. So this way she can kind of get her feet wet and used to it. And
Let's take a
then,
second to give props to your girlfriend.
yeah,
Seriously.
seriously, seriously. She's going to
No?
be studying yoga, and she's going to be learning Muay Thai too, so I know the first trip that I had in Thailand was it was a life-changing experience. It really
Right.
opened my eyes to a lot. It helped me find out a lot about myself, and I'm hoping it will do the same for her because she's a little bit younger than me, and she's kind of lost for direction. But I think this will help her kind of find what she wants out of life. I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to that.
That's great.
Yeah.
And it's also, I think, very important for fighters in their careers to have supportive people around because it's such a difficult and lonely type of position. I mean, it's not lonely in the sense that you've great training partners, you have to.
Hmm.
You've got to have a good coach that you actually want to listen to what he has to say. And, and then it's the fight game. So we're a family. When I do some of the shows or I'm commentating, I feel like I'm seeing cousins, like it's like a family get together. Hey, that's like kind of how it feels. And that's really, really cool. But the extra hours that you put in, the running by yourself or the hitting the bag or the frustrations and stuff, it can be a very lonely sport. So I think it's great that you have somebody that is going with you and supporting your career.
Yeah, she feels my wrath when I cut weight, and she's like the main one who has to deal with it. But she's been my rock, and I've won. I haven't lost I lost in the WKA tournaments, but
Right.
other than that, I haven't lost a fight since I've been with her, and that's been 11 fights. So she's been doing something right. So that's why I'm keeping her around.
Awesome. Awesome. So you get out there and you're going to train as soon as you can, right? Are you going to take some time with the jet lag and all that?
Yeah, probably. I mean, it's like 2 days worth of travel, and then it's a 12-hour time difference.
Right.
And I'll be arriving, I think, Friday morning. So it's towards the end of the week anyway. If I can get a training session in or two before the weekend, then I'll do that. But Sunday will definitely be like a rest day, get ready for the week, and then from there I'll just kind of see how my body feels. Because to be honest, I haven't been training hard because I haven't been at a
Yeah.
gym.
You were still recovering too.
Yeah, and that too. And I actually just sparred for the first time like a couple weeks ago, and it felt good to hit and be hit again. But
Yeah.
I need
Open
to.
your lungs up as well.
Yeah, one of the mistakes I made when I first went to Thailand was training as hard as I can, as often as I can, right away. And I've learned from my mistakes, and now I'm just gonna kind of ease into it and gradually get back into it. And I have a fight in mid-April, but a month's time should be more than enough time because
Yeah.
I've been running and lifting and stuff, so I'm in good shape there. And I wasn't as rusty as I thought when I was sparring, so that kind of gave me another boost of confidence. So I'm really looking forward to get back into a groove though.
And what about the show? What's going to happen with the show? Are we going to expect?
I'm still doing it. I'm gonna hopefully be interviewing people from Thailand who are living and training and fighting there too. I'll still be trying to get some of the top fighters and whatnot as well. It's just the past month has been a little crazy with everything that's going on personally, and then packing.
No, we'll wait for you, man. We'll wait.
Yeah. But,
Just wanted to know what's happening, what's going on.
no,
Make sure
because
you're staying
I
around.
really enjoy doing the podcast and everything, and like interviewing Eric the other day. I was like,
Yeah.
wow, like I forgot how awesome it is picking these guys' brains and like
Yep.
figuring out what they're.
And
they
you
know.
realize how much you don't know.
Mhm.
You're like, damn, I do know a lot. But he was bringing up stuff, like he was bringing up like 80s and 90s icons like Kathy Long
I know,
and
it's
Don the
crazy.
Dragon Wilson. And I was like, what? I know Don the Dragon Wilson, and it was crazy. So it was really insightful talking to him.
Yeah, I need to get more people like him, not necessarily fighters, but coaches who have kind of had their eye out on the sport for a while, just to
Yeah,
get their input on training and sparring. Because his whole philosophy on sparring is a lot different than a lot of other coaches, and
yeah.
just his philosophy on training, he really creates like a progression for his fighters. So this way, he knows what stage they're at, where to go from there, whereas opposed to
Mhm.
just doing the same thing every day, which
Yeah.
is like the Thai style way of doing things. You just kind of repeating the same movements over and over again. But in America, like he was mentioning, is that you don't have Thai trainers holding pads for you. You're not able to train twice a day most of the time, and so you
Hmm.
kind of have to mess around with your training until you find the right kind of combination of drills and bag work and pad work and sparring until you figure out what works best for you.
Yeah, that was one of the first things that he mentioned. Why it works so well in Holland and why these guys are so phenomenal is because they had an organized system that was already in place that helped people run the gamut of their training
Hmm.
and also just start to elevate. It wasn't so like all over the place, and I
Yeah.
was really impressed by that.
Yeah,
You know?
he knew so much more than I was expecting him to say, and I was
Yeah,
like, wow, like I wish I could do this podcast for another hour and a half, but I don't have
yeah,
that time. But
yeah,
so hopefully I'll be able
yeah.
to interview him again in the future because he is a wealth of knowledge and just what he's doing for the sport and everything here in America has been a really big thing. So I can't wait to see where Glory goes in a couple of years.
I was so impressed by it. I had such a great time with it. I mean, like I work with the UFC as well, and I have to say that there is space for both of those martial arts dynamics. I don't think they're competition
I
for each
think they're
other.
growing together, if
Yeah, and
anything.
I think they're good for each other, and I think that people should see that. I mean, I get so irritated when somebody says, "Oh, there's boxing on this weekend," and I'm like, "Oh, that's cool." And somebody else will be like, "Fuck boxing, MMA all day," and I'm like, "Why can't boxing be boxing and MMA be MMA?" Like,
MMA wouldn't
you know,
be
I never
alive, you know?
see baseball go fuck soccer.
Yeah.
And it's like, what? Just because they both use balls? Like, what's your problem?
Yeah.
It makes me so mad. I'm like, you can like Muay Thai, you can like Glory, you can like UFC, you can. This is so dumb,
It's
you
just
know?
combat sports in general are all growing together, and like with one success will lead another, and like it's just I mean, you could joke around and rip on other martial arts. Like I make fun of jiu-jitsu guys all the time for rolling around on each
We
other.
like it though. We
Yeah.
like, it's
But
like
it's all in good
like
fun.
making fun of your cousins. Be like, you live in Jersey,
Yeah.
like shit like that. That's what it's like.
But I love all martial arts like you do. I just haven't been able to really delve into it as much as I like, and I'm so
No,
focused
because to be
on
really good
this.
at one, you have to be completely focused.
And that's one
That's
thing I
that's
learned
part
too.
of
Yeah.
my problem. It's like I feel that I want to fight like everybody else does, but because of what I want to do, I've got to go to a judo tournament on a Sunday and then do jujitsu on Wednesday and then do Muay Thai on Thursday and then interview Chris Weidman on a Saturday. It's like so I have to be multifaceted. But if I believe that if you want a fight career or you want to do something, you have to be completely dedicated to that particular art. I mean, there's no like you just can't. You've got to be Muay Thai all day, every day if you're going to compete in that,
I
you
agree.
know?
And speaking of which, I know Pat Barry is making his debut at kickboxing down in Virginia, right? And I
Yeah.
can't wait for that. He's like one of my like favorite dudes to watch. Like he's just a class act, and he's the man.
And such a great personality, too.
Yeah,
Such a great personality. And his opponent is this guy, Ed Burris, right? And Ed Burris is like a longtime martial artist, and he's really smart. Like I was talking to him, and he was like, "Well, I feel like with Pat, I just have to use a lot of angles. I know that he throws his front leg and his back leg multiple times, and like he was like scientific about it. I was like, this is going to be an interesting fight, you know?
I can't wait for Pat Barry to. Well, I don't know much about Burris, but I
Yeah.
know Pat Barry also has a 2 year 2 fight contract with Glory, and I
Yep.
can't wait to see what he does on Glory. And I know a lot of critics are saying that he's not going to do well,
Why
but
not?
I don't know. I don't know, like that like pisses me off. I was like, do you
Yeah.
know who Pat Barry is? Like,
Yeah, have you not seen all of his MMA fights? Like he threw beautiful combinations. He
hmm
threw some leg kicks that I felt sitting there watching. I was like,
it's
you
crazy.
watch some of his leg kicks. I mean, he got taken down a lot. But he was surviving grabbing on the ground sometimes with guys that had like 15 years of,
Hmm.
wrestling and grappling experience. He's really good.
And even
He's
even when he
awesome.
loses, he still like takes a humble approach at it and like
Yeah,
laughs it
gracious,
off
humble,
almost, you know.
funny.
Yeah,
No,
he's one of the funniest guys in the UFC too. So I'm so excited to have him on Glory because he's also going
yeah.
to give Glory more exposure and get more eyes to it as well. And
Well, the fight card that he's on is CSC 39 in
which is a
Virginia.
stack card, like
Yeah,
with the fighters I
U.S.
know.
versus the world,
Yeah,
and it's March 22nd, and he's
down
the
in Virginia.
headliner. Pat Barry versus Ed Barris.
Yeah, I know a bunch of people. I know Ambang is fighting Francois Ambang, Eddie Walker, Chris Moseri,
Yeah.
and
Yep.
yeah,
Oh,
it's
you know
loaded.
Marceri well because
I actually
you
just sparred him, and
spar with him and stuff.
I was like, shit, I am out of shape because he just kept pushing forward, and he's an animal. He's 5-0 as a pro, and
Yeah,
I know he'll be fighting on Glory one day too. So I can't wait for that.
that kid's super bright career,
Yeah,
like super bright
he's young
career.
too. He's only like 22 or 23. So
Huh? I saw him throw some spinning elbows, just like impressive. And he's very similar to you, where he has like no fight expression, and he's go go go, and he looks like he's emotionless, but he's just calm, cool, and collected.
he's such
It's
a dick
animal.
when we spar because like I try to push him back, but he's always he. It never seems like he gets tired, and
Yeah,
even when he does, he shows better no emotion than I do, and he could just eat all the shots I give him, and I'll unload on him, and he'll just keep walking forward like the Terminator, and I'll be like, "What the fuck do I have to do to like get away from him?" Like,
yeah. Yeah, no, he's really good. And I like Ambang too, because Ambang, he has a lot of power.
hmm
One time, this is funny, it was like one of my first or second times doing commentary, and it was in Virginia, and I didn't hold on to the microphone like well enough, and he took the mic out of my hand and just started walking around the ring, just shouting out people like he was Tupac. He just like grabbed the mic from me, and it was like, "Hey, moms, what's up?" Go over to the other side of the ring and be like, "What's up, Bob?" And I'm like, stand in the middle of the ring, like, "Can I have my microphone,
Yeah.
please?"
He seemed like a really friendly dude though too, because I saw
So
him after
nice.
the Glory fights in New York, and he
Yeah.
was super ecstatic to see like everyone who came to support him and everything, and it's awesome seeing the people in the sport being good people too.
Yeah, because Eddie Walker is really great as well. I think you interviewed him too.
Yeah, and he can laugh stuff off too about how he can't check kicks and stuff, and he'll be the first one to admit it, you know. And like
Yeah,
people
and
who
you're
can
like,
laugh at
"So
themselves, just
what are
like
you gonna do? What adjustments are you gonna make on your next fight?" And he's like,
yeah.
"Check this." I know, get it. Yeah, he was funny. He was really, really funny.
Yeah,
So
looking
yeah, it
forward to
should be
that.
a really good card.
Yeah,
Well, you can order it while you're in Thailand.
that's the plan. And I'm actually gonna be missing the Glory fights while I'm in Thailand this Friday, but I hope they'll probably have them online eventually. So
Yeah, you'll
so
be able
Crow
to.
Cop and Bunyaski go at it. That should be a good fight.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I love watching Glory, so. But we have to stay in touch with us. You have to like update us and let us know what you're doing and how's it going, and then you could rub it in that like it's 90 and you're getting massaged.
That's the plan.
And I'll be mad for a few minutes, but then I'll forgive you because you're my friend.
Thank you.
But I think it's great, and again, I always want to commend you for what you're doing for the sport, and it means a lot to us. And we are all very big fans of your work. So we wish you a tremendous farewell with many new possibilities. Just come back to us soon.
I will.
You
I don't
know.
want to be gone too far. I do love New York and I love the U.S. So, and thank you for everything you do for the sport as well. You don't give yourself enough props because you do it from Muay Thai, Judo, everything martial arts. So keep doing your
Yeah,
thing too.
I appreciate that. So best of luck, man.
That's what I got.
Swadika.